everybody. So today I'm going to talk with you about a very wide topic which doesn't only concern literature, but it also concerns philosophy, it concerns medicine, we would say today probably, it concerns science, it concerns the analysis of the individual, it concerns psychology, we could say, nowadays. Well, now we'll start from a very basic idea, very basic philosophy that comes from the Middle Age. This philosophy was based on the idea of the interaction between the microcosm, which is the individual, and the macrocosm, which is the universe. So basically, the universe was based, according to this philosophy, but we use this metaphor today as well. So the universe was formed by four elements. And these four elements are earth, air, water and fire. This is something we already know after all. So they said that there was a correspondence, between these elements and individual elements. So other elements, that were linked to these four elements of the universe, and that influenced the human being basically. These four elements that we can say which ruled the human body were called humours or eventually fluids, and these humours created some forces. These forces were the elements that moved, the human character, attitude and behavior. So let's see it. Let's start from this very simple scheme. So the four elements, we talked about before, fire, air, water and earth are the four elements that are that we can say can represent the universe. Now each one of them, as I said before, has we can say a correspondence to a body element. So the fire has a correspondent humor or fluid, which is the yellow bile. The yellow bile is, we can say, represented by a choleric attitude, color. Then earth. Earth is represented by a humor which is black bile. Black bile. And black bile, we can say, means melancholy. Then again, water. Water is the element, the universal element, and the correspondence in the human body, of the human of the body humor, is phlegm. Phlegm. And then finally air, air as a universal element, has correspondence in another humor, which is blood. The interaction between them creates some forces, as I said before, and they are four adjectives, four characteristics, which are warm, dry, moist and cold. Warm is the interaction between fire and air, moist between air and water, cold between water and earth, and dry obviously between fire and earth. Now, each one of these elements, so we can say a universal element and an individual element, so an element that is natural with an element that is individual, that is human, each one of them can be identified with a season of the year, but also a season of human life, so a period of life. Let's start from the air, represented by the humor which is blood, It is childhood or spring, because it's an interaction between warm and moist. Then we have the second phase, the second period, which is fire, color. This is youth or summer, characterized by warm and dry attitude, a warm and dry element, Then the earth, so the black bile or melancholy, this is adulthood, or autumn, okay, so the third phase, the third period of the year, and it is dry and cold together. Finally, okay, we have water, phlegm, which is old age, okay, and winter basically, and it is cold and moist together. So this is the idea basically. This is the very, okay, it's a very short and easy summary, okay. The idea is that we can then consider how these elements can be in a complete balance, but they also have, they can also have a problem in balance, and when they are unbalanced, okay, this problem, okay, this contrast can mirror itself outside, okay, and so I can say an unbalance, a disbalance inside the human being, so the microcosm can create also a disbalance or imbalance in the macrocosm, which is the universe. This is something we already talked about when we talked about Shakespeare. Do you remember my video about Shakespeare and about especially women as an element of disbalance? Okay, in the universe, in the macrocosm, because of an interior disbalance, interior disbalance in the temperaments. In the temperaments that were caused by sort of something that went wrong, okay, in this scheme, we can say, in this structure, okay. So again, elements, okay, are earth, water, air and fire. There is also a fifth element, which is ether, but okay, this is something that will come later, and so it's something different, so we'll leave it just there where it is. Okay, earth means melancholy, okay, and it means cold and dry together, and the temperament is melancholic. Can you think about any tragedies of Shakespeare in which this melancholic temperament is prevailing? Of course, Hamlet, for example. Many others, but just the most important example maybe. Then water, phlegm, okay, phlegm is the humor, phlegmatic. So cold and moist together, obviously the temperament is phlegmatic. Again, air, humor is blood, obviously hot and moist together is a sanguine, okay, sanguine temperament, quite typical of many characters in Shakespeare, for example. I mentioned here Lady Macbeth, okay, because of her greed that created also a disbalance, okay, in the world outside, in the kingdom. Again, Cleopatra was another kind of disbalance, okay, that wasn't about greed, and it was about love, okay, but anyway, there was this instinctive power and force, okay, that broke the general balance and created something that couldn't be controlled, and at the end led to death, because at the end balance has to be restored in one way or the other. Okay, even in a tragic way eventually. Then finally, fire. So color is obviously the humor, qualities are hot and dry, and choleric is the temperament. Also in this case we have many characters in Shakespeare's, in his tragedies. I mentioned here Henry the Fourth, but he's not the only one. We could mention Othello, for example. Othello, we could here talk about his being sanguine or choleric. Not so easy to say, because there are many elements together, and these are very, very interesting perspectives for a new, or anyway, not new, probably for a different analysis of characters, because characters in this case, especially when I'm talking about Shakespearean characters, they are always a representation of the individual, of the human being, okay? And so giving somehow this kind of reinterpretation is also a psychological analysis of the human being, of the human nature, which isn't just the human nature in 15th or 16th century, but human nature is the same today as well. Now, how can we get to know better the individual and so also an eventual psychological analysis of the individual? So, for this purpose, and the purpose was nocete ipsum, which in Latin means you have to know yourself, get to know yourself. It may happen through 3 different tools. Okay, these tools are mirror. Mirror means auto-analysis, basically. Okay, try to know yourself, to understand yourself. Then anatomy, so the study of the body. This is something that starts, okay, in the Middle Age, but we can say that it develops in Renaissance, okay, because they had the opportunity, or anyway, they forced okay, the opportunities in order to get the chance to properly study the human body. Okay, we know that they studied corpses, that wasn't completely legal, but that there was this great desire to know exactly, in a very empirical way, in a very objective way, how the human body was made. Okay, and so medicine could take a step forward, okay, from here, because this meant also being cured using plants and things, which is fine, definitely, but obviously there is much more than trying to balance these elements, okay, when diseases have to be cured in a more in a more practical way. So that was definitely very positive. Okay, so anatomy, which is developing especially after the Middle Age, or the last part of the Middle Age. And then the third one is especially interesting for us. This is alchemy. So the alchemic element is now seen as a sort of magical element. At the time, it was considered one of the elements that belonged to research, belonged to science somehow. Let's just think for a moment about Goethe, Wolfgang Goethe in Germany. He lived in the 18th century, so we are really talking about a long time later. In the 18th century, he was so connected to classic studies. He was the creator, he was the embodiment of the Sturm und Drang. He led Germany towards the Romantic period. So it was something absolutely different from now. But also in his case, he studied philosophy, he studied anatomy, he studied biology, he also studied alchemy. And one of his main characters, one of his most important characters, Faust, okay, is a professor, university, professor of philosophy, so very logical discipline, but he worked also on alchemy. So that was just one part, just one side, okay, just one side. It had nothing to do with magic, okay, or anyway, less and less, okay, throughout the centuries, and it was just another way of analyzing, okay, humours, analyzing the human body, analyzing nature, okay. Now, we'll try to see, okay, starting from these 3 tools, how they really analyze the human being, so the individual, okay, and which kind of structure they gave to individual, and how it could be eventually related, or anyway compared to the structure of the individual that we can say that we study in modern psychology, for example. So, see you in a second. Hi again, we're back. Now we're going to see the analysis of the individual, as I said before, and we'll see that we're not so far from the, let's say, modern, the new vision, okay, of how medicine should approach the individual, okay, studying together the, we can say, physical symptoms and the so-called mental elements, okay, which are extremely connected to one another. So basically, starting from what we said before, we can say that the different part of the human body, as far as the medieval philosophy, medicine was concerned, were ruled by different spirits. And when I'm talking about spirits, I'm talking about humours again, I'm talking about fluids again. Okay, well, the natural spirits who flew through veins and which were connected to the liver, so the lowest part, okay, of our body, which is also the symbol of instincts, okay. Then we have vital spirits, which run through veins and are connected to the heart. The heart is the central part, okay, of the body. And pay attention, it means feeling, but I'm not talking about a romantic feeling, I'm talking about empathy, I'm talking about everything that is connected to perceiving, okay, to sensitivity. Then animal spirits, pay attention, animal doesn't mean that it is connected with animals, okay, but it is connected with the soul, okay, it comes from the Latin, okay, so it's the highest part of the body, connected with the brain, which is the highest part, the rational part of the individual, of the body, okay, so don't make mistakes here, because animal could actually be a little contradictory, okay, so animal spirits are connected with the brain. Now, all of the spirits move, we can say so, one soul inside the individual, okay, because all individuals have all of these souls inside. So first of all, vegetative soul. The vegetative soul is connected, is moved by natural spirits, connected with the liver, so the lowest part, so instincts. The symbol is a triangle, okay? And this is, as I said before, the most basic, the most instinctual side of the individual. Then there is the sensible soul. Pay attention, not sensitive, but sensible, because it doesn't mean, okay, it doesn't talk about being sensitive or, I don't know, it talks about senses, so we can say a physical perception, okay, of things. The symbol is a quadrangle. Why a quadrangle? Because it means two triangles together, okay, because it's something higher than the vegetative soul. Sensible soul is divided into two attitudes, into two abilities, okay? They are knowing and desiring. Knowing and desiring. Let's start talking about knowing, to get to know things. Knowing can be exterior or interior. It is exterior when it is when it happens through the five senses, okay? So it's quite empirical, it's quite practical, you perceive things using your senses. This is the lowest brain, alright? Then there is another kind of knowing, which is interior. That part, the interior part, is led by common sense, okay, basically, and imagination, fantasy, okay. This is the middle brain, this is higher, because this is the part that characterizes the human being. I'm talking about brain here, even if the sensible soul, okay, as the vital spirits are actually connected with the heart. okay? But brain doesn't mean only mind, okay? Brain is everything that rules something, okay? That is connected with knowing, with interacting, okay, with reality outside. So even heart and even that part, okay, of perceiving things, of interacting with things, is a sort of a brain. And in some interpretation, imagination, fantasy, okay, is considered even better than rationality. So this is quite important for the time. Now, as I said before, sensible soul is characterized by knowing, so interior, exterior, and desiring. So desiring is also divided into two, okay? We have concupiscible desiring, okay, which is connected with love or hatred. On the other side, desire, pleasure. So my attitude towards something, I hate something, I like something, I wish something, okay? Then there is the irascible side of desiring, which is connected with hope, despair, courage, or fear eventually. So in this case, it's not wanting or not wanting something, or wishing or not wishing something, but it's more about my attitude towards life. Okay, my feelings, my way of behaving, my attitudes, the way I react to things, okay, with fear, with courage, okay, with hope, with despair, okay, this is my attitude towards life. Why the concupiscible, desiring was more linked, connected to the idea of wanting something for me or not, or rejecting something. This is something different, okay? So, knowing and desiring are, they belong, okay, to sensible soul. Then there is a third soul, which is the rational soul, moved by the animal spirits, the highest part of the body, okay, the highest part of the human being. So the symbol here is a circle. This is also quite interesting because nowadays we are discovering again many cultures, also animistic cultures, Native cultures, Native Americans, for example, and we all often talk about the circle as a symbol of balance, of continuity, of a continuum, we would say in Latin, okay, of balance inside the individual, all the aspect of the individual, but also balance with the community outside. This is quite a universal symbol, and it was used also at the time. So, even talking about very different cultures from very different places, but we get to the same symbols and to the same simple, very easy idea of balance. Now, rational soul, which is immortal, okay, is also divided into two, okay, and these two elements are understanding, so the ability to understand, to analyze things, and will. So back to Shakespeare, so we talked about Shakespeare before. Also in this case, King Lear, for example, he had all the most positive characteristics, but he suffered from a lack of understanding. He was lacking understanding, and that was the origin of the tragedy. Or again, Lady Macbeth. We talked about her before, and we know that her greed created this balance inside the microcosm, then the macrocosm, okay, because she wanted the king to be dead, her husband to become king, so it was greed basically. But she also had the other characteristic and could stop that desire, but she wasn't strong enough, her will wasn't strong enough to stop herself. And this is why this imbalance, this disbalance was created. Okay, so the lack of one of these characteristics can be eventually the origin of this disaster, okay, which is a tragedy, and that has to have often a tragic ending, death or whatever, in order to create, okay, balance again. balance is always the final aim. If you want to know more about these elements, of course you can read a lot of that in the internet, but there are many interpretations, and obviously there are also many different sources. I've tried to give sort of a unique summarize as simple as possible, but there are obviously different interpretations. But if you really want to get a very official and very well done interpretation, you should go and read this work. I've written the title because it's not very short and very easy to remember, so it's Mystics, Demoniacs and the Physiology of Spirit Possession in Medieval Europe. Okay, the title isn't very short, I know. The author is Nancy Kashler and it was published by Cambridge University Press. Another interesting book is A Shorter History of Science by Sir William Cecil Dampier, also published by Cambridge University Press. Now, all of this, is extremely interesting nowadays because we are somehow experiencing a sort of they call it just great discovery, made by science, which is finally starting to give a new interpretation of the individual that doesn't consider a physical symptom just as a physical symptom, or mental disorder just a mental disorder, but they put them all in connection, and they start to consider the individual as a whole. Now, this is nothing new, actually. This is nothing new. They already did that in a different way, probably naive one. Probably we would find different ways of analyzing the human being, but the meaning is great. This pantheistic vision of animistic culture, this sort of a philosophy of the medieval culture, but also during, also classic and Greek classic and so on. They talked about the individual as a whole. The problem with our culture is that throughout centuries, this idea, this perspective of the individual was completely forgotten. And there was a strong dualism, body on one side and psychology on the other side, and so they had to try, reasons, to try to find out reasons why things happened, illnesses happened. So a physical illness was probably punishment, God's punishment for something, or a mental disorder was, some kind of a demoniac possession. Right, today we have to go back and to forget about that dualism, and to go back to idea that the body as well as our mind are moved by, obviously by also biological, chemical mechanisms. Our mind is a machine as well as our body, and they work together. They can't be disconnected, and there is nothing to be judged. If someone is ill or sick or suffers from a disorder, there is nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with someone who suffers from a mental disease or a mental disorder. Because it has the same dignity as a physical disorder, because both of them are connected and are moved by the same mechanisms. Now, this is my idea today, and this is my provocation, probably. I hope this has been interesting for you, and thank you so very much for watching. If you have any questions, I'm here, and if you want to leave me your opinions, please write a comment below. Thank you very, very, very much for watching this particular video. See you very soon, and goodbye.